Hello, and welcome to The Pouch, the 50-cent sauce packet of podcast that takes a not-so-serious look at the week in Australian news and politics. I'm Gregg, pale white legs are in, right, savage?
And I'm Jake, gas-led recovery farr-wharton. On today's episode, we talk gas, claiming victory incorrectly, and investigations, and so much more.
And Jake, while we're as snug as a bug in this proverbial rug, I want to know why you're not using JobKeeper payments to pay me the bonuses I'm entitled to as the CEO of your Sunday mornings.
Well, because I don't like you, Greg.
That's all right.
Also,
I don't like money, apparently.
50-cent sauce packets are the greatest things in the world?
No, 50-cent sauce packets are not the greatest thing in the world. Free sauce packets are the greatest thing in the world.
Okay, all right. I'm with you.
Yes. Free sauce packets are the greatest thing in the world. Nothing to do with... I just don't understand it. If I ran a fish and chip shop, if I was Pauline Hanson and I ran a fish and chip shop, you would be getting free sauce. Sauce is like cheap, and it's one of those things that if you get a free sauce, you're like, man, I'm coming back to this place.
Yeah.
You know? It's just customer service, people.
See, I would be marketing, like I would not be selling. I agree with the idea of a free sauce thing, but of course I would add the cost of the sauce into the cost of the sale. You know,
I don't care what you do, as long as I think I'm getting free sauce. Like even if it's the illusion of free sauce.
$5 worth of chips would be, you know, your classic $5 amount of chips minus a few chips in order to make up the amount for the I would ensure that it'd be master food sauces because they have that, you know, extra little bit of tang.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, we're not on track to keeping it short, Jake.
Yeah. We're not keeping up with the promises.
You know, it's a challenging week, Jake. Not just to try and stay abreast of what's happening in Australian news and politics, but you know, not just because there's so much going on in Australian news and politics. It's also because of this whole American situation. Right now, we don't deal with that. However, you've got a mascot for us today.
I do. Well, I have a mascot for us every week, but certainly the listeners and the watchers of the stream don't always get to see it.
No.
But this week, yes, I do have a mascot. It's and read nothing into this. This is not political.
No, it's not political at all.
I thought it was amazing.
No, not a suggestion.
But it's a Donald Trump toilet brush.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And if the camera will be indulging, you can see in between the bristles, there's quite a lot of cat hair because my cat has decided that it's really an interesting texture to chew on.
Right. I'm glad you said that was cat hair because I was very worried about what you were showing us in between the bristles of the Donald Trump.
I have been brushing my teeth.
Yeah, teeth. Between the cheeks. Something between the cheeks anyway. Okay, there's a between the cheeks joke there somewhere. All right, so we do have him here in spirit, which is wonderful, but we do need to stick with Australian news and politics, Jake. Now,
seriously though.
Now, not so seriously. We need to do a little bit of a warm up. The kangaroo certainly doesn't like it when we just launch straight into the pouch. So, like getting into a hot tub, we need to dip our toes in first, and we need to go in there gradually. And then, like my 5-year-old daughter, we need to scream that that's too hot. Okay, so we just need. even though you argue with her and you say it's not too hot,
it's just right.
It's perfect. I don't know what you're complaining about. With your unexposed skin, you know, that's never been exposed to any sort of element ever. Anyway, all right. So the warm up. So the weekly Greens. The Greens have said that they'll be forcing tech giants to pay for news sharing if the ABC is also included. Tell us what this means, Jake.
Look, it's just, you know, the Greens who have a voice and no vote in any parliament. But you know they do obviously have opinions and they do enjoy sharing them and you know, like any political party that is representative, their opinions and etc. are very valid.
Okay.
And they've said essentially the ACCC's declaration or draft laws that would require Facebook, Google, YouTube, etc. to pay for the sharing of news on their platforms. They said they would back that new law, that new legislation, if the ABC also receive some of that funding, because currently, the way that the law is currently written, they've said, essentially it's going to the commercial media companies, not the ABC.
Okay.
So, the Greens, who have always been a staunch
powerhouse
backer, absolutely, but they've always been a backer of accessible government-run news and impartial but government-run news, and they've said that they 100% back it.
Yep.
But only if the ABC is included, because of course they have received record cuts to their budgets over successive years.
Okay, terrific. I think I can hit an applause button. Yeah. Great. I don't think you can hear that, Jake, but the people at home can certainly hear that. Now, they loved it. They loved it. All right. Now, Gunner's in hot water for dropping the F-bomb on live radio. Now, this is Chief Minister, who's not a Premier because he's in the Northern Territory. Yep. Michael Gunner has been forced to apologise after dropping the F-bomb during a radio interview.
Yeah.
What did he say?
The F-bomb.
Yeah, the F-bomb.
It's actually a really short news story, which is why I loved it for the...
But what was the context?
Look, they're discussing why his government is taking legal action against a particular local town council over the location of the proposed National Aboriginal Art Gallery.
Right. And, yes, I've heard about this.
Said, I'm flipping sick of it. Obviously, I said
F-bomb sick of it,
and he didn't.
Yes.
We got to get on with it.
That's great. That's very good. I like it. I like it when because I remember a couple of weeks ago too. Kevin Rudd was on the news. He was just swearing like a trooper.
Well, more recently, since he's not been Prime Minister, but while he was Prime Minister, and actually during that brief period where we had another great and our first female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, there were some tapes of essentially him preparing to say statements that were released, where he just couldn't get out the sentence, and he was very frustrated with both himself and the script writers. And anyway, he got very sweary McGarry, you might say.
Fair enough. Look, I think that's great. I think maybe we need to do a compilation of politicians swearing. That'd be super fun.
I think it would.
It would be super fun. Now let's get straight into it, Jake, with something that's completely unscripted. John Barlilaro.
Yes, the B
bar. The big John B.
A bar.
The swoop John B. What is that song? What's that?
You way outside of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And okay. Now this I only want to really touch on this a little bit. I've been delving deep into what might be known as the dark web, Jake. It's not really the dark web. It's just Friendly Jordies. But Friendly Jordies has been this week pretty forceful in his critiques, and pretty forceful in bringing to light, what he considers to be bringing to light some of the corruption that John Barlilaro has engaged with. We are under no circumstance suggesting that John Barlilaro has engaged in corruption, but this is what corrupt practices, but this is certainly what Friendly Jordies has been proposing this week. And he's also been proposing that he's got some evidence around that and presenting that too. So if you do want to check out that's a pretty big story this week.
Is he sending that evidence to, say, New South Wales has anti-corruption.
Yes.
A thing, a triple C.
Yep. He's all of the evidence that he's using is actually backed up by journalists and stories that he's presenting on his videos, right? So there's sort of not really any, I don't know. Anyway, he's got a team of researchers
he's not
now.
He's forward his own stuff. He's some
of the
connecting dots.
That's right. He's a dot connector. Yeah. And so John Barlilaro was under a lot of pressure. Now, one of the funny things that Friendly Jordies did was actually present all of this information on his YouTube channel while he filmed the video in John Barilaro's Airbnb.
Whoa.
Okay. So he means business, right? He certainly means to ruffle some feathers. I do encourage you to check the video out because it's quite entertaining, if nothing else. Now, what the quote mainstream media has done is sort of present this as though this is just a YouTube comedian who's bragging about sex acts in John Barilaro's Airbnb because that's what he did as part of the video. So he's sort of avoiding the fact that he's actually bringing to light, attempting to bring to light alleged corruption on John Barilaro's part. Now, at the same time, at the same time that he's announced that he's going to have another video ready to go this coming Friday, John Barlilaro has announced that he's going to be taking some mental health leave. So for those who aren't in the know about the Friendly Jordies situation, which I imagine would be a lot of people sort of my age, because the only reason I'm on YouTube is because we run this podcast, right? So you know, a lot of people my age wouldn't have a clue. They would just see that John Barlilaro was under a lot of pressure about this whole koala situation, and now all of a sudden he's taking some mental health leave. But I don't want to understate the impact that I think this Friendly Jordies situation is having on John Barlilaro and his career at the moment. Now, 2 points about this. Firstly, if the alleged corruption happened, then that's not good. Okay? And I think that John Barlilaro is well within his rights to try and have a bit of a break and distance himself if that's the case. I suppose, long story short, if a good thing comes out of all of this is if a politician is able to normalize having a mental health break as part of your job and make that a very positive thing, then I think that's good, right? I'm not saying that I think if the corruption happened, then that's not good. If it didn't happen, then that's also not good because he's getting a lot of pressure from a lot of circles and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, if a good thing comes from it, I think it would be that if John Barlilaro can normalize having mental health, time off for mental health reasons, and I think that's a really good thing. What do you think? Have I gone too deep?
No, I completely agree that if normalizing the premise of a mental health break, that's great. You know, it comes a week after Are You OK Day, which is, of course, the only day of the calendar year where you are allowed to discuss mental health issues.
Yeah.
So he did sort of miss the timing on that, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think if ICAC was the body that I was of the government body that I was thinking of. Essentially the body that looks after and investigates institutional corruption, particularly that pertaining to government. So if there is evidence of that, I would sincerely hope, as a citizen of this country and not a citizen of New South Wales, but if there is any suggestion of corruption, I would sincerely hope that is being appropriately investigated by the relevant government or police bodies.
That's right.
So, I mean, look, both of what you said, it's not mutually exclusive things. I think both things are correct. Great to normalize the fact that we all have, we all have a certain number. I love the analogy of spoons. Have you been introduced to the analogy of spoons?
No, I haven't been introduced to the analogy of spoons, Jake.
So you only have a certain number of spoons that you have access to, and
I work at a school, Jake.
You have,
and that staff room is like a
central.
It's a spoon central. I have access to an infinite amount of spoons. I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
But I do love that there is a particularly chronic disease sufferers refer to the premise of spoons. Today is a 5 out of 10 spoons day.
Right. Okay.
Today is a 6 out of 10 spoons day or whatever. On my weekly board outside this office, which we can see from the kitchen, you can see the events going on over the next month, and you can see the number of spoons allocated to each individual. And I sit at about 9. My wife sits at she's I think at about 3 or 4 at the moment, and my daughter's about 7 or 8. Okay. So look, I love that. I love that. The use of the spoons thing, but it is true. We all have at times where our mental health suffers, and it's important that we during those times put our mental health ahead of other things, and particularly ahead of petty potentially political squabbling. So if he's taking time off to deal with his mental health, that's fantastic. If he had tanked the Nationals and the alliance, the coalition, which he almost did the week previous, as a consequence of that, then that's really unfortunate, and really unfortunate that he didn't seek help before then. But what can you do? Sometimes mental health is one of those guiding forces, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, like I say, if I think since most people wouldn't be aware of what's happening with the friendly Jordies situation, and they see that he is just taking some time out for his own mental health, and he normalizes that, then I think that's great, because he's sort of, I mean, I don't know what the history is, but he's certainly one of the first politicians I've heard of who are taking, leave purely for mental health reasons. Like, you usually get, I want to spend more time with my family, all that sort of stuff, but just to say, hey, look, it's a bit much at the moment, and take a step back, I think is a good thing.
A lot of the time they don't need to tell
in most
us.
circumstances. Yeah,
They just, a lot of the time they don't tell us. They just organise. They look at the parliamentary calendar, see when the sitting dates are, and they might take a week or 2 weeks off, and ensure that they have a minister to fill their portfolio for whatever that length of time is.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's making a point of saying why he's taking time off, and look, I've just done a little bit of a look into YouTube, and there does seem to be a few targeted things on there from the Friendly Jordies, specifically targeting John Barlilaro. So
yes,
that's always a little bit unfortunate, but I'm not necessarily one of those people that says if you're in the public eye, you sort of made that choice to be public and to that is one of the consequences, that you are open to criticism. Invariably that is true, but the other side of that is we are also Australian, and it'd be great if we could not be assholes.
Yep, that's right. Agreed. But Friendly Jordies is certainly one of those people who don't hold back, and he goes for the jugular. Now, I don't know if there's a jugular segue in there somewhere, Jake.
Yeah.
However, let's dive into the jugular that is the relationship between China and Australia.
See,
hey?
I thought
our weekly.
Well, I thought you were going to go with the lifeblood. Energy, gas.
They're good. I'll write those down for next week. Lifeblood. No, I'm trying to stick to the order here, Jake, of the script. All right, of the run sheet, as it's called in the biz. Okay, fears for Australians in China. Now, we're basically doing a weekly segment at this stage on Australia and China relationships, right? Okay, so last week we had the 2 journalists fleeing from China. They were told, you need to come and see the government for some unknown specified reason. And they said, yes, no worries, just going to duck to the bathroom, slid out of the bathroom window, put on their masks that they carry with them. They ran to their limousines, and they got taken in their limousines. Yeah. While being followed by people on motorcycles to the consulate. They ran into the consulate, and then they got snuck onto a plane.
There was a car explosion at some point.
Some car flipped over. Yep. They got snuck onto a plane, right? The Australian government said, look, don't worry about the 24,000 Australians stuck overseas at the moment. We'll worry about them another time. Let's get these journalists. Yep. They're our top priority. Let's get them over here, right? Snuck them into the country, and then they magically appeared here in Australia. To escape whatever it was that they were escaping. Yeah. Chung Lei is being detained at the moment, an Australian journalist over in China.
Yeah. Also, one of the feature fighters in the Street Fighter franchise.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
From Namco.
Yep, she's the one who spun upside down and did the kicks that way. Fantastic move.
Spinning bird kick.
Yeah, spinning bird kick. Eastern Spinebill, I think, is the bird that she mastered that off. Yep. Now but this week, some explosive explosions, Jake.
Yes, explosive explosions.
Some revelations.
Yes.
That a former senior defense official and diplomat is calling for urgent action to protect Australians in China. Yep. After who was this guy? I'm trying to find him. Who was this guy who was named?
Yeah, so there's been some search warrants that have identified Chinese consul to Sydney, Sun Yanto,
yes,
in connection with investigation by the AFP, the Australian Federal Police, and spy agency ASIO into some alleged plot to infiltrate the New South Wales Labor Party. There's been some implications. You might recall some months ago we were discussing the politician's surname Mosselmain.
Yes.
I can't recall his first name off the top. That's it, Shavkat Mosulman.
Yes.
And it's been implicated in this ring of, or in this sort of sphere of stuff.
Yes.
Is the best way that I can, phrase it.
Okay, it says emails, messages, and phone calls lists involving Chinese diplomats were accessed as part of the investigation into political interference. The former diplomat, Alan Bem, says Australia's diplomacy with China is in the pits and requires urgent action.
Yep.
So this is based around the fact that there's been an Australian consul named in this pressure to infiltrate the New South Wales Labor government, right? Yep. So China is trying to
Labor Party, not the Labor government.
Sorry, the Labor Party. Power. Yes, the Labor Party trying to infiltrate the Labor Party, and that this now has, if I remember correctly, there was a speech given by by a Chinese representative, and he basically stood there for like a minute or 2 minutes or something like that, and they referred to it as stone cold silence. So this question was put to him about this consul who has been named in this investigation. He stood there for 2 minutes and then basically just launched into this thing about Australia is treading a fine line, that there are people in Australia who are just basically hell bent on making sure that the relationship between Australia and China stays strained. But I mean, we have to trust that the AFP are doing their job, and then they're not just taking this lightly, and it's not just someone who's got a chip on their shoulder.
That's it. And that is the most frustrating thing. Look, I totally get the fact if you've got a foreign national in another country, and they are detained on an investigation, and allegations have been made, and as part of those allegations, they are being appropriately investigated. All of the right parties, including the consulate for that country, are being informed. Information is flowing appropriately.
Yeah,
I get that. That China and Chinese officials are worried about their citizen that is in another country that is being investigated, that is potentially being detained. I totally get that. We have the same issues and worry and consternation about our citizens that are currently being detained in China. So I totally get that. This is a mutual consternation that both countries have over people being detained. I suppose the issue is that China should not be interfering in this investigation.
No.
And if there have been allegations made, which there have, and if there is an investigation that is being undertaken, which it is, then China should not be necessarily putting their fingers in the pie that is this investigation. They should not be muddying the waters. And where that analogy between China having an issue with China having consternation over somebody being investigated in Australia, and Australia having consternations over somebody being investigated in China, where that breaks down is that there have been no allegations made against Chun Lei. There have been, there is this so-called investigations, and there has been, she has been detained, but she's been detained without charge. She's been detained without allegations, apart from nebulous investigations of, national security. So it is a really fraught time where we have, these political firecrackers essentially just popping up left, right, and center in both countries. Things are getting worse and worse. People are being detained. People are being, given threats of detainment, and threats of imprisonment. And all we see is this escalation, and it is just so unfortunate that there are individuals caught up in between these things. Now, I'm not suggesting that the allegations made on the individual in Australia are not real.
Yeah.
I would suggest that they are probably quite real because, Shavkat Mosulman, he lost his job. He lost his position.
It's Sun Yanteo is the name of the consul being named. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just want to tie it up a little bit, tie the conversations together a little bit. So just to be clear, It says here that the correspondence between Chinese diplomats and policy advisor to New South Wales Labor MP Shayoket Musselmain have been seized by Australian police. Right, so there's a whole bunch of communications happening between these two that have been seized. Now, this was actually seized months before the alleged the detainment of these people in China. So the Australians being detained in China are all a result of the fact that these conversations had been seized. So it's not that it's even though we're getting the information in this particular timeline, the timeline is a little bit different. The timeline happened that we knew about this Sun Yanteo and Shayoket Musselman connection prior to Chung Lei being detained. So it's certainly messy.
There's not necessarily a tit for tat here.
No.
But there is certainly nonetheless, escalation of tensions.
Yes. The ABC can also reveal that Mr. Zhang, who's Mr. Zhang?
He is somebody from China's Sydney consulate.
Okay. All right. So there's two consulate people?
So the Mr. Wang is not. So it's Wang Wenbin.
Yes.
And he's from the Chinese Foreign Ministry.
Right. Okay.
He's a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry.
Fair enough. All right.
And he's saying that there is this escalation, these revelations, but there is this escalation, and we both Australia. Well, he was implicating that Australia has a Cold War mindset or mentality.
Yes.
Of peddling lies
and nothing but vicious slanders.
Yes, indeed. Malicious smear and slander.
It's like an episode of Home and Away. Okay.
That's malicious, love.
Yeah, that's just slander. Okay. Of course it is. Of course it is just slander. Nothing going on at all.
No.
Nothing going on at all. No. Yep. Absolutely not. Now, Jake, insert gas joke here. This is exciting.
Oh, you're not going to. You don't want to do the citizenship test?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the citizenship test. I haven't looked it up, so if you wanted to test on things, let's do it. I do. Now,
okay, here's how it will work. I think I've got a link here somewhere for it. Now, tell us a little bit about what's happened here, Jake.
So the federal government have suggested that they are going to tighten up the citizenship test that exists in Australia, that we give all prospective citizens of Australia. They're going to tighten it up in order to improve on the way that we are asking questions around Australian values. So essentially, what they have suggested is that we want the best of the best. You know, we want people to come here that are going to...
The creme de la creme.
Exactly. Well, the creme de la creme. Exactly.
Creme de la creme, not the creme.
So...
The creme de la creme.
Not the creme de la creme.
No.
No. Exactly.
All right. What do we commemorate on? Oh, this is the test, right? So SBS have a thing which says the new citizenship test will comprise of 20 multiple choice questions, including 5 questions on Australian values. A person will be required to correctly answer all 5 of the questions on Australian values with a mark of at least 75% overall to pass the test. Okay, so can you pass the citizenship test? I don't know. There's 20 questions here, Jake.
First of all,
I don't know if we're going to do all 20.
Test?
If we do all 20, we might have to make it a separate episode.
That's right. Let's just do a couple of years.
What do we commemorate on Anzac Day? The landing of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps at Gallipoli, Turkey during World War I, the arrival of the first free settlers from Great Britain, or the landing of the first fleet at Sydney Cove?
Gallipoli.
Correct. What is the Commonwealth coat of arms? Is it the national anthem, Australia's national flower, the official symbol of Australia which identifies Commonwealth property?
The official symbol of Australia that commemorates Australian property.
Good. What is the capital city of Australia? Canberra, Brisbane, Perth?
Canberra.
What are the colours of the Australian Aboriginal flag?
It is black, red and yellow.
Good. I'm not even giving you the multiple choice anymore. What happened in Australia on the 1st of January, 1901?
That was federation.
The separate colonies were united into a federation of states called the Commonwealth of Australia. Yay! What happened on the 1st of January, 2020?
commemoration of Federation. I love it. That was great.
What is a shoey?
This is one of the Australian values. This was brought in by the Formula One racer Daniel Ricciardo, who after winning a race would pour some champagne or beer in his worn shoes and drink his libation out of his shoe. Good. Which, by the way, freaking gross.
Holden or Ford?
Well, neither of them are manufactured in Australia, so it doesn't really matter.
Good. That was a trick question.
By Great Wall. Sanyong.
Name 2 towns where you can see the sunset over the water.
Sunset over the water. So Perth, and let's say anywhere in the Pilbara. I can't name any of the coastal towns in Western Australia.
Okay. Australia or New Zealand?
Australia.
Which is better?
Love it. That was a great one.
Okay. Which of these statements, oh, this is a scary one. This is a real one again. Which of these statements about the Australian government is correct? Okay. Religious laws are passed by Parliament. The government in Australia is secular. The government does not allow some religions.
The second one.
Yeah.
Secular.
I'm going to stick with that one as well. I don't think you're allowed to be a communist. Not that that's a religion, but I don't think you're allowed to be a member of the Communist Party in Australia, are you? I think it was banned. Yeah.
No,
right.
No, there is a communist enthusiast party.
Okay.
You are allowed to be a communist.
Enthusiast.
Although it's not it won't be reflected poorly. It won't be reflected particularly well if you have it on your resume.
Right. Okay. I'll take it off.
To go for a government position.
Which of these is an example of equality in Australia? Everyone follows the same religion. Everyone belongs to the same political party. Men and women have equal rights.
The third.
Yes. Which of these is a responsibility of Australian citizens over the age of 18? Attend local council meetings. Yes, absolutely. It's against the law.
Definitely attended quite a few of those.
For anyone.
Since turning 18.
They need to have a current passport or they need to vote?
Need to vote.
Yeah, they need to vote. Just we're only up to number 9. Goodness me. What is the greatest state in Australia?
The state of mind.
Which of these is an example of freedom of speech? People can peacefully protest against a government action. Oh, touchy subject. Men and women are treated equally in a court of law. Australians are free to not follow a religion. I'm guessing all of them.
Well, yes, I would suggest all of them.
Yeah, this is a trick one. Oh, I got it incorrect. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what it was. It's just an example of freedom of speech. Okay. People can peacefully protest is the answer. All right. Which of these statements about passports is correct? Australian citizens need a passport and visa to return to Australia. Permanent residents can hold an Australian passport. Australian citizens can apply for an Australian passport.
What was the first one?
I don't know. I said the passport way too many times. Yeah. Australian citizens need a passport and visa to return to Australia. Permanent residents can hold an Australian passport. Australian citizens can apply for an Australian passport.
A permanent resident can't get a passport. That's true.
They can't?
That's true.
Right.
If you're a permanent resident, you're not a citizen, therefore you can't get an Australian passport.
Okay. So can Australian citizens need a passport and visa to return to Australia? No, they don't need a visa.
No.
So it's the third one.
Yeah, third one.
Okay.
That was fun. Deduction.
All right. What is a referendum? A vote to change the Australian Constitution, a vote to change the Prime Minister, or a vote to change the government?
It's the first one.
Okay. We probably could have said something along the lines of, is it a way to get, more left-wing policies into... A way for a right-wing government to get left-wing policies into Australia in a sneaky way. What is the name of the legal document? Oh, that sets out the basic rules for the government of Australia. The Federation, the Commonwealth, or the Constitution?
Constitution.
Right. Pretty sure my dad used to have one of those every morning. Which of these statements... Which of these statements about voting in Australian elections is correct? Voting is by a show of hands.
I really like that one.
What is this, a classroom? People must write their name on their vote. And people are free and safe to vote for any candidate.
Well, see, I suppose.
I like the show of hands one. I think we should definitely do a show of hands.
Hey, Jimmy, put your other hand down. You've got both your hands up.
You didn't vote. We got to go again. I lost count.
Exactly.
This is great. Which arm of the government, left or right, has the power to interpret and apply laws? Judicial, executive, legislative. Oh, jeez. That's not... This is not good. No, incorrect.
Legislative.
No, it's incorrect.
It's the executive, is it?
No. It's
the
judicial. Yeah.
Judicial doesn't have the right to make laws.
I don't make the rules, Jake.
They enforce the laws.
The judicial people do.
Okay, fair enough.
Which of these is a role of the Governor-General? The appointment of the head of state, the appointment of state premiers, signing all bills passed at the Australian Parliament into law.
It's C.
Yes. In Australia, can you encourage violence against a person or group of... Be careful with your answer. In Australia, can you encourage violence against a person or group of people if you have been insulted? Now, there's three options here, Jake. Okay? To the question, can you encourage violence against people who have insulted you? Sometimes, if you feel very offended, yes, if you do not intend to carry out the violence, or no. It is against the Australian values
the law.
All right,
let's incite violence.
Okay, correct. Well done.
Threaten violence.
Yep. Sometimes, if you feel very offended, maybe one day when we can measure offence, have it quantifiable. Should people tolerate one another where they find that they disagree?
People should tolerate.
Yeah, should people tolerate each other when they disagree?
Totes.
Well, yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And yes, that's correct. Which of these statements best demonstrates Australian values about freedom of expression? Everyone can peacefully express their opinions within the law. People with different views from me need to keep quiet. That's true. And only approved topics can be discussed.
Well, I mean, it depends whether you're a Sky News commentator.
Yeah.
So A.
Yeah, and it also depends on how deep in the pockets of China you are. Should people in Australia make an effort to learn English? There is no expectation to learn any particular language in Australia. People in Australia should speak whichever language is most commonly spoken in their local neighbourhood. Yes, English is the national language of Australia, and it helps to get an education, a job, and to integrate into the community.
So I prefer the second answer there, but I know that the third is the correct one.
Which of the following is an example of contributing to the Australian community? Volunteering or fundraising for a charity is a great opportunity to strengthen our community. I should not make any effort to get to know other people. They've been spying on me. People in Australia should not contribute to the community because Australia is a free country.
Well, it depends on whether you're a bit of a libertarian or not. Probably A.
Yes.
But I haven't done a huge amount of volunteer. Well, I suppose volunteer firefighter, but whatever.
We got 18 out of 20.
Fantastic.
We need 75% to pass. So
as long as we got the values test, those 5 questions count for 75%. So we should be good.
Nailed it. Welcome aboard, Jake.
Look, thank you. It's good to be a citizen. I'm going to grow a beard and drink beer.
Open a boutique brewery.
No.
It's well within your
I'm going to drink
right.
other people's beers. That's
an obligation. It's an obligation.
Just go over to people's houses, take them out of their fridge. You invited me over, right? It's a party. Own beer.
Yeah. Final question: when will Western Australia become its own country?
1999.
I thought you were going to say 9:10 at like 9:10 a.m. 2 minutes.
Not far off.
All right. Gas.
I think they have been for some time.
Gas.
Yes, gas.
Jumping jack
The polite
flash is the
cousin of the
gas,
shark.
gas. I don't even know if that's the word. Okay, so now we Jake, as we gradually, at the speed of a snail, move towards renewable energies here in Australia, we will get there, Jake. You know, whether it's my kids, their kids, or their kids' kids, we will get there. Yep. All right, we will get there together. The pandemic has thrown a little bit of a spanner in the works with that. Might be my grandkids who get there, but we will get there. In the meantime, we are just going to go gas crazy, Jake. We're going to go gas crazy. Our government is just on board with this gas nonsense. Now, I don't want to hear any nonsense about wind farms. I don't want to hear any nonsense about wind farms. I don't want to hear any nonsense about solar panels.
Yeah.
Okay? Solar panels are a residential individual's responsibility, right? You get them on your roof. If you don't have them on your roof, that's on you, right?
Well, there is two types of solar. You've got
those who have solar and those who don't. Right?
You got the residential
greenies
solar,
and hypocrites. They're the two types of solar.
You got the photovoltaic, and then you got the solar thermal plants.
I'm not interested in the whiz-bangery, Jake. Okay,
no,
I'm interested in the philosophy. Now,
then
you're going to look.
Okay,
then you can't tell me about wind farms. A, cancer. B, they look at California. Now, California has to have rolling blackouts.
Yeah. Because
of their wind farms. Their wind farms are useless, right?
Yeah, well, it's because they don't have any wind.
Okay, but neither do I. There's no wind outside. Jake, what am I going to do? I can't do the podcast. I can't do the podcast without 240 volts going through my veins, Jake.
Ouch, that really hurt.
Gas. So what I'm saying is, Scott Morrison listens to The Pouch and he doesn't want a blackout to put a stop to the show.
Yeah. What about a brownout?
We're going all in on gas.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Is it?
Yep. Prove me wrong.
There was a lot of prove me wrong. I love it. This is my assertion. I need no evidence for it. You prove me wrong.
I've got evidence, Jake. California. They just sweltered their way through one of the hottest summers on record ever.
Yeah, because of climate change.
But then they can't get the energy in to cool themselves down. It's irony on a Floridian level. Is California in Florida?
On a Floridian level, I love it. on the Floridian irony level, it's a 7.
Okay, so gas. We're loving gas. I'm going to get my I Love Gas shirt.
One of the interesting things. I mean, if you want to use California as an example, they have this massive issue with yearly fires, massive forest fires as they refer to them. We refer to them as bushfires because we have bush and they have forest. But these massive fires that get caused are caused invariably, in their escalation, are caused much like ours by essentially an escalation of climate change. And their power lines are all above ground power lines, and as a consequence, anytime it gets windy, you get things like power lines down, which cause a fire, which et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the gold plating of the grid that we had in Australia, so-called gold plating of our grids, was essentially we put as much as humanly possible. We still have the very large high tension power lines, but a huge amount of it has been put underground. Anyway, this story is all around. The Morrison government has opened up new gas supplies, and they have backed the construction of a gas-fired power station in New South Wales as a way essentially to drive energy prices down or to prevent energy prices from spiking for both employers and for households. But the interesting thing here
So this is going to save me money, Jake.
Well,
it's great.
There's speculation.
We're getting jobs, saving me money.
What we've heard from a huge number of people in the media, commentators this week. I was trying to find that word, commentators. What we found from a huge number of commentators this week is that they've referred to gas as a transition fuel, right?
Yes.
And they're suggesting that we're going to transition from coal into renewables as much as possible. And one of those transition fuels in the in-between is going to be gas.
Yep.
Now, we have, about 20% of Australia's energy production already comes from gas.
Yep.
Okay. So one would suggest that it's already playing that role of a transitional fuel. Now, in Australia, if you want to purchase gas for whatever purpose. Now, a lot of Australian fertilizer actually comes from gas as well. Huge amount of the fertilizer production actually.
I just use chickens.
Yeah, well, exactly, and they're fantastic. Look, it's really quite interesting. But a huge amount of the gas that we actually pull out of the ground, we export overseas, and so as a consequence, our actual supply in Australia has historically been quite low, and as a consequence, this is part of this intervention of essentially Australia's trying to improve our reserves onshore in order
new
to
gas fields.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it's suggesting. One of the new gas fields is going to be in Narrabri, in New South Wales, a beautiful country town. I've been there quite a few times. They're suggesting that essentially, one of the parts of this announcement is, as well as improving the amount of gas that we're going to be holding in reserve in Australia, the federal government has challenged the private industry to essentially put forward a plan to fund a new power plant in Australia, in New South Wales, to meet the current demand.
So this is great. There's international investment. There's jobs. There's power. There's exports.
Going to be doing it yet? No company has said that.
If they don't do it, then what happens, Jake?
Well, and this is the interesting thing. So. The government has said that if private industry does not get behind this plan and does not decide that they are going to do it, that the federal government will, in fact, do something.
We're going to fund it. Basically, that's what he said.
They didn't necessarily say that they're going to fund it, but they say that they will
intervene. Right. Yeah. So this is great news. You haven't convinced me that it's not good news, Jake.
Well, the thing is, if they do that, then that's a 25 to 30, sometimes even 50-year investment.
Yes.
Which does not suggest transition.
Yeah, that suggests a transition.
No, it doesn't.
It's just not on your time frame, Jake. It's just not in your time frame. That's all.
But they have also, at the same time, they have suggested. So Australia's Renewable Energy Agency, they've said, they're called ARENA, Australia's Renewable.
Of course they are.
Agency, ARENA. They've said, ARENA, you are no longer allowed to fund renewable, energy. So you are no longer able to fund wind. You're no longer able to solar.
Wind's out. Wind's done. Exactly. Solar's done. We're done. Experiment failed.
Well, actually, they've said wind and solar, you're going great guns. You don't need any more investment. We're going to go and work on other stuff. Now, one of the great things that they've done here is that they've said that the money that ARENA holds should be funneled as much as humanly possible into things like, micro-sizing the grid. So essentially, they want to create greater resiliency and greater redundancy in the grids. They want to improve storage and capture of carbon. They want to improve storage of energy. And they want to be able to create ways of essentially storing hydrogen. So creating hydrogen and storing hydrogen. So the federal government is getting behind a push into a hydrogen energy future, which is awesome. Down the track, we fuse hydrogen into oxygen. It creates energy, and the byproduct is water, sterile water.
Excellent.
Distilled water.
Love
so that's
that.
Great. But that's a while away.
It's good.
But anyway, it's really interesting. It's unfortunate that they have pushed ARENA from moving out of renewables. That's really unfortunate. But one of the great takeaways is that they are pushing ARENA to look into more hydrogen generation.
All right. So good news all around then. We agreed.
I'm still not sold, and most commentators are not at all sold on see, this is the thing. The reason why the energy companies have not gone into, creating a power plant, a gas-fired power plant, or any extra power plant is that there hasn't been a demand for it. So why is the federal government producing a new requirement for something where there is no energy? There is currently no deficit in demand for.
Well, maybe that's. I mean, maybe this is the hype, right? He's like it's like a new Cardi B album or something. You hype it up for when it I mean, essentially, how do you I mean, it's like when you have hot dogs for dinner, right? You pump the kids up for hours. Yep. You make out like this is just going to be the best dinner ever. That they've worked hard all week. That's got that you're going to have hot dogs for dinner. It's going to be amazing, and then they get the hot dogs and they're like, "This is amazing."
Sauce.
That's right. But, it's a bit like that. You got to create the hype, you got to build it up over the week.
So true.
Say, look, Friday's hot dog night. It's so exciting. So that when it comes time to actually, you don't have to do as much to get the same sort of result. Your kids are fed and you didn't have to work as hard. It's great.
Best analogy ever.
It was a pretty good analogy, wasn't it? All right. Since we've been going for 52 minutes, Jake, do you want to skip down to this claiming victory one? I want to do this one.
Yeah, this was really funny.
Yeah.
So I've found two cases here where we had two federal politicians. We've got the federal MP Barnaby Joyce, and we've got the Senator Pauline Hanson that have claimed responsibility for big things, big infrastructure projects.
This is two separate infrastructure projects. Yeah, two separate stories. Yeah,
exactly. That they've had no hand in. Zero hand in. But
okay,
anyway.
so tell us about Barnaby. I missed this one completely. Like I like to watch the news and all that sort of stuff. Still didn't catch Barnaby in the news this week. Our news aggregators must be different, Jake.
This one was my personal favourite. So the federal MP Barnaby Joyce has apologised after setting off a community uproar in northern New South Wales over he calls it a joke, but it clearly wasn't in the beginning.
It's funny.
So
he's a funny guy, Barnaby.
Exactly, he is a funny guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Except when he's not,
Yeah.
So, look, he did this video on Facebook where he, what he said unofficially but officially opened the long-awaited and state government-funded bridge.
Yep.
So the mayor of Kyogle, where the bridge is situated, they in the rural Northern Rivers region. She said, "This is the mayor of Kyogle." What's her name? Danielle Mulholland. Sorry, Danielle Mulholland.
Danielle Mulholland, yep.
She said she'd been inundated with angry calls from constituents who thought they had missed the official opening of the Tabulum Bridge.
This reminds me of when they did the War of the Worlds on the in the olden days on the radio, yes. And everyone thought they were being invaded by aliens, and they're like, no, it's just a joke.
Yes. But in the video, backed by some lighthearted music, Mr. Joyce says he's, quote, going to help the state government out by opening the bridge himself. Quote, you guys don't have to worry about doing it. I'm going to do it for you, he said. Yeah. So
he's a spokesman for the people, isn't he, Jake? He knows what the people want.
Yeah.
He knows what they need. Yep. More jokes in politics. That's what we need. Hey? Exactly. That's what we're encouraging anyway.
It's really funny, though. He set up a rhythm. He set up a ribbon and everything. He set up a ribbon. He got someone to film it. He's walking up to the ribbon and he cut it.
Dear me, we should get him in to write our jokes. All right, and Pauline Hanson has taken credit for something this week.
Yeah, so up in Rockhampton.
Or is he written here Pauline Hanson? Pauline Hanson, what is she taking credit for? Aside from terribly designed, what do you call them? Beer
if you want to
cozies.
point out her dresses, I've always found she's a fashion icon.
Yeah.
If there is one thing that I can say about Pauline Hanson that is in the positive, it is her dress sense. She's always rocking it.
All right.
Yeah, up in Rockhampton, One Nation Party leader Pauline Hanson. You're right. I have written Pauline.
Pauline Hanson.
Pauline Hanson has personally taken credit for a $23 million taxpayer-funded federal grant to help build a stadium in Rockhampton.
Yes.
Announcing the government's decision to fund it with a great big novelty check bearing her face that she had absolutely nothing to do with. So, yes.
So hang on, what they did the check and it had her face on it?
Yes. Well, she produced the check and handed it over. But yeah, anyway, it's
right.
It's wonky for all sorts of reasons, but essentially, she's teamed up with the Nationals MP Michelle Landry. Essentially, what they're trying to do here is they're trying to build up two things. Number one, they're trying to build up the local Liberal National Party, who is, of course, this is in a lead up to a state election, and the federal government has gotten involved in it. And moreover, they brought Pauline Hanson in to do that, to build up her own publicity, because of course Pauline Hanson runs a lot of candidates in a lot of seats in Queensland elections, be they federal or state, or even council actually. But yes, in a Facebook post showing her delivering the cheque to the Rockies Sports Club on Monday, Hanson cites dinner with the Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Finance Minister Matthias Cormann last year as evidence that her lobbying won.
Right. Okay, so she's saying like they're taking credit for it, but really it was her lobbying that got this stadium going.
Well, she probably had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right.
She is not the senator for Rockhampton. She is not the local member for Rocky. She is not. She has got really very little to do with this. All that it is she's. She and her party is particularly popular in the Rockhampton region.
Right.
And indeed, pretty where all of regional Queensland, they'll find some amount of a backing. And perhaps the Liberal National Party has done a little bit of polling, and they've found that that Pauline Hanson is a shoo-in, or one of her candidates is a shoo-in at that particular area. And they've decided,
and away they go,
her as a way to launch this funding for this thing. But
if she is lying, Jake, I'm sure there'll be a raft of consequences coming her way.
None.
I'm sure it'll all be happening. All right, thank you so much for that, Jake. That's a lovely way to wrap up the week in Australian news and politics.
Seriously.
Yeah. It was good. Now, let me find a segue here, Jake. When our listeners have finished trying to figure out their own gas jokes, telling their friends their own gas jokes, what would you like them to do?
Well, I'd love them to first subscribe. And then following that, I'd love them to rate and review us. That would be amazing if they could do that for us, because rating and reviewing helps other people to find our show.
It does. And if you want to share the love, you can do so by telling your friends, families, and foes to head to thepouchpodcast.com, where they can choose their favorite podcast player of choice and subscribe that way. And we're on Amazon now. I don't know if Amazon does podcasts in Australia, but we're certainly on Amazon in America.
Well, that's really good. It's really good news.
It's really good. Yeah. Look, we have 4 people in America who think. And if you want to check out our YouTube channel, please do so, because apparently one of our most popular videos is me having a sneezing fit on air. It's got over 500 views in the last week, so go us. Out of all the things that we've uploaded, we try and upload every day on that YouTube channel, and we get some decent views. But apparently the sneezing fit is what people want, Jake.
Look, it's an adorable sneeze.
It was an adorable sneeze. Yeah, I should have put that as the title. Anyway, so check out our YouTube channel where you can watch videos of me sneezing, because that's what the people want.
It's what the people want. It's what I want.
It is. More sneezing. All right, Jake. Well, you enjoy your Sunday, 9:30 on a Sunday. Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
You raining up there? We're raining down here.
There was a little bit of rain. Went for a very nice, lovely run this morning. It was very nice. We went up to Toowoomba yesterday.
I thought you ran to Toowoomba.
No. We drove up to Toowoomba yesterday to see the flower festival.
What was your favourite flower?
I like poppies. They look really cool, and tulips. I have no sense of smell, so I got no idea what the things smell like. Apparently, they're good.
Yeah.
I like the look of the tulips.
That's good. I think that they're good plants. I'm a fan of the waratah.
Yeah, big fan. They didn't have any of those.
We've got some. We've got some in our garden. Yeah, apparently they're like $80 each or something.
Yeah, big fan.
There's like thousands of dollars worth of waratahs in our backyard, and I'm just taking it for granted.
It is the state emblem for New South Wales, so it's appropriate that you'd have it.
It is the state emblem for New South Wales, and basically, my house is the state emblem for New South Wales, really.
You got all the Waratah.
Yeah, we have all the Waratah here in my house. Address to be decided. Now, enjoy your Sunday, Jake. Thanks so much for chatting with me. And I can't wait to see how everything unfolds, to see how the Barlilaro plot unfolds, to see how the gas giants of the world descend on Australia, to see how the China and Australia relationships, which is obviously there's nothing to see here. Everything's hunky-dory.
Oh, yeah, it's the best it's ever been.
There's no problems at all. There's no tension.
What tension?
It's just a couple of people ruffling feathers.
Yeah.
Ruffling the rooster. It's the year, it must be the year of the rooster because they're just ruffling rooster feathers. Dear me. All right, and see you, Donald Trump, toilet brush.
He says, see you later.
See you. Bye, Donald Trump, toilet brush. Again, nothing does. We're not insinuating anything. If we were insinuating something, it's only positive things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got great hair.
He does have great hair. It's a good cat brush.
Yep. Cat.
Yeah. All right. There's another joke in there that I'm not going to touch with a 40-foot pole. All right. And I will see you soon, Jake. I'm hitting the finish button. Peace
Me
out,
too.
live broadcasteries.